Hey, it's Vince from Crushing Strength, Fitness, and MMA. Just here to talk tonight about the results from last night's fights and also some big news that was just dropped yesterday in the MMA world. So, just to start off, Thiago Moises against Mitch Ramirez. Moises looked incredible. He landed some really good calf kicks, and that's what eventually stopped the fight in that third round. Just from start to finish, his striking looked excellent. He was getting in and out of the pocket well. This one point in round two, he kind of did like a step back and then a jab straight. Just really clean and crisp stuff. Didn't get hit too much, stayed in there, kept landing his volume of strikes, of punches and kicks. And it was that calf kick in round three that really got it done and really controlled most of the fight for him. Just an excellent performance from him. I believe his ground game is really good too. And he called out Brad Riddell for pulling out of the fight. Said that it was because his camp is afraid of fighting guys like Moises who have a good ground game. Good call out, I guess. Good for him to get his name out there in the division. He called out Dan Hooker for a main event fight night. I think that's a great idea. I think it'd be a really fun one to watch, considering both of their styles. So, hey, UFC, book it. Let's go. And we had Kulabau versus Silva. Another great fight. Definitely very fun to watch. Silva had him hurt early on in that first round. Almost got a good submission too. And Kulabau came back, started to land his own shots, but he was always on that back foot, and that I think is what cost him the fight in the end there. And, close decision, good win for Silva, all around great fight. Neither guy really lost in that one. When we got to the main card, we saw Gerald Meerschaert versus Brian Barberena. As I kind of expected, I thought, there was a chance Brian maybe could have got a knockout, but, my gut feeling was telling me that Gerald would take him down and control him very well. Brian's just not a middleweight. He's a former welterweight, not big enough for those guys. At middleweight, he got out wrestled, out grappled, and Meerschaert eventually sank in that submission. So good win for Gerald, and we'll see what's next for both of those guys. Now moving up, we had Rodriguez versus Delgarian, kind of a controversial fight. Delgarian definitely controlled the first two rounds very well. I believe one of the first two was a 10-8 as well. And it just looked like he was going to cruise his way to a decision, but it kind of looked like he gassed himself out at the same time. And in that third round, Rodriguez really came forward, landed a lot of shots, especially on the ground, and that was enough, I guess, to get a 10-8, which matched Delgarian's 10-8 from one of the first two, I think the first round. And that was it. He got that 10-8. I guess the judges gave him that second round. And, next thing you know, he's edging out that decision win. Close fight. It really depends on how you see it. If, Bulgarian dominated most of the early part of the fight, and then he got dominated towards the end, I really think you could either call it a draw or give it to Rodriguez. I guess you could have it filled up for Bulgarian too. Really could have gone either way. Another good fight, though, for sure. And moving up, we were right about this next one. Ovince St. Preux versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. Kind of like I expected, it was an even fight for most of the three rounds. Then Ovince hurt him, and I believe either the second or third round, he landed a big shot, dropped him, kept the pressure on, and both guys were definitely exhausted in that third round. Man, I mean they threw a lot of shots in that fight, and it was definitely one to watch for sure. A lot of clinch fighting, a lot of dirty boxing and stuff. A lot of good head movement from Ovince. I gotta say, considering was his I think 40th fight in MMA, and who knows how many in the UFC, it's really impressive to see how he's still improving things as he's gone on. In a way, certain aspects of his game look better. Like his footwork doesn't look as labored as it used to, especially how it looked against Shogun and John Jones. It looks to me like his footwork is a little bit better now. His head movement was really good. Even when his hands were low because of the fatigue, he was still ducking and rolling away from shots. And yeah, just looked great in there. And he edged out that decision win, rightfully so. And props to St. Preux. It's great to see a UFC veteran still kicking butt there in that stacked light heavyweight division. Moving on to the co-main, Brian Battle and Ang Lusa. Dominant performance from Battle for most of the fight. And then when he eye poked Lusa, Lusa said he couldn't continue. That caused some controversy too. You could actually see Brian, kind of calling him out. Like if you read his lips, what he was saying to Lusa, which caused some animosity there. Lusa tried to pick a fight with him after, which is like, there was all that time in the fight to pick that fight. Why do it after the fight's over? But that's how he felt in that moment. And yeah, Brian felt like it was a win for him, considering how well he was doing. And I think he definitely looked like the better fighter in there, regardless of it being a no contest. So hopefully he could get a top 15 guy next. I think he's interesting for that weight class. Very tall, long reach. It'd be interesting to see how far he goes. He's also an Ultimate Fighter winner too, so that's awesome as well. Do I think a rematch will happen? Probably not. I don't think it's a big enough fight for a rematch to happen. And, not to be biased here, but like Battle said, who knows if Lewis actually wants the rematch. And then moving on to the main event, we had Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. Guess I was wrong on this one. I expected Tuivasa to catch him early, which he did. But the second it hit the ground, unfortunately, like it's been, in other fights with Tuivasa, he got, dominated on the ground, unfortunately. And so good submission win for Tybura. Definitely a quick win in that fight. And, considering he almost got finished, good heart shown by him too. So, that was a big fight for both of those guys just because they've both been having losses a lot, in their past few. So, that's a tough one for Tuivasa. But overall, pretty good card, definitely enjoyable. And just to close us off, Jose Aldo is coming back to the UFC, scheduled to fight Jonathan Martinez. And definitely kind of shocked with that one. I thought, considering the Merab fight, that was going to be it, especially considering he did say he was retired. That was like his last run at the title. But he's back again. I guess, the boxing thing didn't really work for him, so he's back to UFC. How do I think it's going to go? I think Aldo definitely still has it. He's been in the game a long time though. But if you're not going off of MMA years, he's 37, which is still capable for, a top 10 guy. And but considering it's an up and coming guy too, kind of a scary fight, if you're a big Aldo fan. But, we'll see what happens. I'm definitely not going to doubt him. I think was at the top of the featherweight division for so long for a reason. So let's see what Aldo still has, man. And yep, so that was it tonight. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, have a great night.